I mean, I sucked at sales, I sucked at video, I sucked at speaking. But the one thing that God gave me, and there's no question to this, is He made me delight in discipline, in that I am consistent. I am a consistent freak of nature.
Hello, dear listeners. It's that time again when we stroll through the paths of ambition, desire, and success. Welcome to the Dare to Declare podcast, where we explore the enchanting world of giant manifestors who've turned their visions and goals into the stuff of legends. I couldn't help but wonder, how do some people create the lives they've always dreamed of? Is it the magic of manifesting, the power of perseverance, or perhaps just a dash of serendipity? Well, dear friends, grab your coffee cups because we're about to spill the tea on fascinating journeys of those who dare to dream big and make it happen. Join me as we sip on success stories and ponder the ever-enticing question, can we all manifest our dreams into reality, or is it just an urban fairy tale? I'm your host, Debbie Sluice, and I'm here to guide you through the labyrinth of achievement with heart and soul. Ready to dare to declare? Let's get started. Hi, it's Deb Sluice, and I am here with my special guest, Ray Higden, today. And he is an author, a speaker, a coach, and a marketing expert. He shared the stage with such greats as Tony Robbins, Bob Proctor, Les Brown, and he's the co-founder of Inc. 5000. It's the fastest growing company. He helps sales leaders and teams make more money while staying aligned with their faith journey. And so on today's episode, I'm really excited for what you're in store for. And Ray shares about his reality TV experience and how he was looking to fill a void. So even though he made $1 million a year, $1 million a month, $1 million a day, and then started this reality TV series, he still wasn't fulfilled. And it wasn't until he found God and started listening to God's voice for his will for Ray's life that he really began to understand his anointed branding, as he calls it. So his divine purpose. But he talks about how it wasn't easy, still isn't easy, still has tough days, and shared even the day of this recording how he had a really challenging situation. So sit back, listen. You might want to grab a notebook and pen because he does share a lot of writer downables in that you're going to want to listen to these golden nuggets and apply them to your life. Hey everyone, I am super excited to introduce my guest today, Ray Higden, and we got to meet in person last fall. I think it was October in California. So I'm Canadian, as you all know, and so we met across the country, at least in my mind. Actually, I was just in California. I was just hanging out with Jack Canfield. So that was pretty cool. But I got to see Ray on stage, and I was really inspired by his talk and just his way of being. And I'm really eager to have him share his wisdom with you today. So let's just dive right in and talk a bit about where you've been. If you can share a little bit about your history, where you've been, and how you have grown to the influence that you have. So welcome, Ray.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, let's see. I always knew that I wanted to be in some kind of sales or entrepreneurship. You know, I was always selling something as a kid. I was selling airheads or comic books or something, right? And so I first, started selling things on eBay when I was like, I think 18 maybe. And I just knew that I wanted to have my own business. I wanted to be in something around sales. But at that stage of my life, I listened to everyone else and I went and got a job and I worked my way up the corporate ladder and in the IT, kind of field. And at some point, I realized that I was pretty miserable doing that. And in 2004, I jumped into real estate, did real estate for several years, did it successfully for most of those years. And then when the market changed, I got completely wiped out. And that's when I found myself not sure what I was going to do. And I ended up joining a direct sales company. And I just went at it really hardcore, became the number one incomer of that company. Fast forward today, I now help sales leaders and teams generate more sales. And I have a 4P method that I walk sales teams through to help them identify any gaps in in their processes. And so I've been able to, create a significant income, share the stage with a lot of rock stars out there, Tony Robbins, Bob Proctor, Vaynerchuk, Kiyosaki, Magic Johnson, Pitbull. It can goes on and on and on. And so it's been a wild ride as an entrepreneur, and I love what I do.
Yeah, and you get to do it with your wife as well, right?
Yeah, so we worked very closely together for about 12 years, and she loves real estate. And so few years ago, she became a realtor here in Naples, Florida, started selling high-end luxury homes here in Naples. First year she sold $20 million. This year she's already sold over 20 million. And so we still come together for events and things like that. We don't work as close as we used to, but I think that may actually change. I think we may start coming back and working closer together. But we did the majority of my career, we did work together.
And so thinking about where you might be working together in the future, like where does that converge?
Well, she's incredible at what she does. She is very, very good. She's great with sales too. We have we come from different places in that I wasn't naturally good at anything. I mean, I sucked at sales, I sucked at video, I sucked at speaking. But the one thing that God gave me, and there's no question of this, is He made me delight in discipline in that I am consistent. I am a consistent freak of nature. There was a period of time, 12 years, where I did a video every day without missing a day. And so like I'm a very consistent guy. And so her, everything she ever tries, she's amazing at. And so it was frustrating for me at first, but then I'm like, well, this is cool that she doesn't have to do all the stuff I had to do to learn things. And so we just have, she's got such an amazing personality, so filled of joy. So we have a lot of good, we have a lot of fun on stage and when we're working together.
So if you haven't already figured out, there are going to be a lot of writer downers. So if you're
Mhm.
driving, you might want to pull over to listen to this, or just definitely tab this to go back and listen when you've got a pen and paper, or if you want to voice note it or whatever. But yeah, so Ray's already dropping some great, what did you call that? Discipline, delight in discipline.
Yeah, I didn't really know the term for it until, one of my mentors mentioned this, a guy named Graham Cook out of California. He mentioned that a lot of people are really trying to be disciplined at something, but discipline is all around delight. So, I don't know about you, but most Americans are addicted to coffee, right? So if I say, "Hey, are you disciplined with your coffee?" It kind of sounds weird, right? Because they actually delight in that discipline. You don't have to remind them to drink coffee because they're like, "Oh boy," they look forward to it. That's how I look forward to my workouts. That's how I look forward to every like little routine thing that I do. I actually delight in that stuff. And so the teaching here is if there is something that you need to do to progress your life forward, um, thank God for the delight in doing it. Don't try to push with your own might the discipline, but thank God that you delight in actually doing it. And that's, like for me, my routine, I love my routine. I don't have to remind myself. I love doing it. I go to bed at night, like can't wait to wake up and do my push-ups, right? Like I delight in it. It's a interesting quality that I recently discovered how to name it because so few people lack that. They're trying to be disciplined at things they don't want to do, and that's always going to be a struggle. But if you learn and thank God for helping you delight in it, then you're much more likely to do it.
So when I hear you describe discipline, it feels more like a habit, routine, a way of being versus a doing, which can feel like you're being, chided or punished or in that way. So you've just really reframed this idea of discipline, which
Yeah.
includes the idea of delight. That's great.
Yeah, it's still doing. I mean,
Yep.
I still do the push-ups. I still
Yeah.
do the sit-ups. I still, do those things. But
Yeah.
I look forward to that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny, Jack Canfield, like I said, it's just on my mind. I was with him last week and he said, you can't pay anybody to do push-ups for you,
That's right. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You got to do them yourself. So,
Yeah.
and something else you said was that you were not a good salesman. Like that surprises me. So, are you then, and it must be because you are an expert salesman from the thought school of thought that you can learn that you can learn these things because sometimes people say
Absolutely.
it's a born salesman. So do you believe that to be true or are both true?
Um, both are true. You can learn to, I believe you can learn to be anything, right? I really do. Like I
Mm,
mean I and even even traits you don't may not think that. I think you can literally learn anything. And however, you can be born good at something, right? The only issue with that is what I've noticed that it's very rare if someone is a natural and someone is born good at something, they're usually not a very good teacher of it because they didn't have to struggle with it. They don't know the mind of the person that is struggling with that thing that came so natural to them. And so a lot of times, like if you take sales, for example, a lot of salespeople that are just natural, they have natural inflections in their tone that they don't even know to teach. They just say, here's what I say. And so the person that doesn't understand tonality, they just like, well, I say the same things, but I say them differently. Like they don't use the same inflections and they don't get the same results. And tonality is a very big deal. And so you can be born naturally good at whatever, usually not always, very, I don't know that I can think of an exception, but very rare for someone to be a natural at something and be a good trainer to the masses of that thing.
right, right. Yeah. I actually that rings true for me when I decided to train my academy, so my vision board training. And I had done it through intuition, where I created my vision board experiences and workshops. And then when I wanted to pull it apart so that I could create a curriculum and then train it, it was literally painful. Like it
Yeah.
was like this feels really hard because it just
Yeah.
came so natural. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So tell the audience a bit about what led you to create a TV reality show.
Mm. So, you try these different things, so I look back, I don't remember the actual, I think it was 2018 and 19, I think. Um, so for me, I had, for the first few years of my career, I thought, you know what, when I hit $1 million a year, then I will have made it. And so, I hit $1 million a year in 2013. I had my first $1 million month 2014. I have a first $1 million day in 2015. And none of those things did what I thought they would do. I thought they would make me feel worthy, and now I've made it and I feel good about myself and everything. But I still was just as something's missing as I was before. And so so you start doing different things, right? So you're like, man, what else can I do? What would be different? And so, we get this idea of doing a reality show. We called it Play to Win. And in Play to Win, we had people come, they covered their own expenses to come from all over the world to compete for I think the first season was 5,000 bucks and coaching with me. The second season, they got to choose. They got to choose, they got 5,000 bucks again, or coaching with me or a job with us. And so that, was their choice, right? And so, we did it and it was a powerful experience. It really grew me as a coach in that so many of the people that came just were really going through some stuff, really going through some really rough stuff. And so it was a very powerful experience. I made some really good relationships. And I mean, it wasn't cheap. I think I think both of them were around 100 grand, a little bit more than 100 grand each to do. But it was really powerful, and it was I was in that phase of, okay, what is going to fulfill me? Like, I'm just trying all kinds of different stuff, and I'm trying different ways to get attention, different ways to help people, to serve people, looking for that thing that was missing, and that was one of them. Didn't fulfill me, but it was
Yeah.
it was a lot of fun and entertaining and powerful.
Right, right. And I was saying before we started recording, actually, that's one of the ways that I met you, like as in came into your community was knew one of your contestants
Mm,
on your
cool.
show. And she had, said in her social media afterwards too that she was really broken open and it was quite a thing also to have it be filmed and to see yourself back. Because
Yeah.
often we have these breakthroughs and and then we move forward, but to have that filmed and then to watch that yourself, that would be really powerful as well.
Yeah, there was a lot of breakthroughs. I'll give you one that I'm really proud of her is in season one, we had a woman on there, Renee, and Renee, I'm not good at ages, but late 40s, maybe 50s, I'm not sure. And through the atmosphere of what we created on the show, a lot of people were sharing. Come to find out, not that we targeted this, but come to find out, over 50% of season one had been both male and female had been sexually abused as kids.
Yeah.
And looking back, I think that God sent them on that journey to get some help. And so one of them, Renee, she was actually trafficked through the foster care system. Like it's just a terrible, terrible story. Trafficked, sold, abused, and she had never shared that story. So she had never spoken publicly. She had never shared that story with anybody. She had never done a video. She'd never, none of that. And so, this comes out and she shares this really deep, stuff. And, I hugged her and loved on her and, you didn't deserve that. And then I did tell her, I said, there are people that if they heard your story, it would give them hope. Because a lot of people that go through that kind of scenario, they end up killing themselves. And here she has grown, into a woman, and she's, loved. She has friends and everything. And so, I say that to a lot of people. Some people run with it, some people don't. Well, 2 weeks later, she messages me, and she was doing her first speaking event at a women's shelter. And so I'm like, oh, I'm so proud of you. And then a couple months later, she messaged me again. She spoke at the International Conference Against Human Trafficking in front of 19 countries, 7,000 people for Ohio State University. And so that is just amazing. I talk about this concept. There's a concept that I got in prayer called an anointed brand. And I believe that I believe everyone and has an anointed brand in a season that they're in, that if you just walk down that corridor, God will bless it like crazy and it'll fling doors wide open that don't make sense. And
Yeah.
I actually talk about that in my latest book. But that was her because that doesn't make sense. How does someone go from never telling their story to speaking internationally? What? Like, it doesn't make sense unless it's God. And so I'm really proud of her. But there are a lot of people that had breakthroughs on that show and have gone on to create success. And we're just really proud of them because we were tough. We were tough on them, and that makes for good video, right? So we were tough on them, but they did really great.
But a coach is tough. I mean, it's like a mirror, right? So it's like calling out, like, what are you hiding? And those things. Do you see that and your work as you go forward as your legacy? So this is something that for me, is that when now my graduates from my academy are using my vision board process in their
Sure,
country, in their, and they're using it in all different ways that because of their expertise, they're able to reach women who have recently been through divorce or families or like in Africa where I would not have been able to reach. And
sure.
so I don't take their success as my success, but I certainly do see it as my legacy. and
Gotcha.
that, and I just feel so grateful. Like I'm just wondering if you
Yeah, that's awesome.
feel like that as well, or if you've thought about that.
Yeah, I don't really think about legacy a whole lot. I think about um, how do I shine my light? How do I help others while I'm here? How do I give examples? And I don't know, I just don't think about I don't know. I don't think about that a whole lot. Like I hope that if now, just, these last, 2.5 years, since I accepted Christ, now I hope that, people that get to know me or learn from me or whatever are most intrigued to have a better relationship with their Heavenly Father than give me credit. And so
Yes, yes, I
that's
understand.
my
Yeah.
primary.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
So let's go there. So
Okay.
you couldn't fill the void. You were trying, you got the money,
Right.
got the
Yeah.
money, did the show. And so can you talk us through where that you were converted, you found God, and what that did for, the various areas, your marriage, your
Yeah.
business? Like people probably were doing a bit of a head turn. I know there's different celebrities that have had this
Yeah.
they found God, and yeah, it's like what, so talk about anointing brand. Yours was anointed, your brand, but what did that do for you in terms of your brand, your image, and all the relationships?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to say everything just skyrocketed. It was so easy and amazing, but it wasn't. It was a
Right.
very, very rocky, confusing, tough road, actually. So, by the end of 2019, I'd generated over $30 million. I'd had, multiple best-selling books, which actually, Jack Canfield gave me amazing testimonial on my Time, Money, Freedom book. I wrote this
Uh,
for Hay House. And him and John Assaraf and Mark Victor Hansen gave me like amazing testimonials. I'm very grateful for those guys. And and so I'd written all these best-selling books. I'd spoken on all these stages, generated lots of money, Inc. 5,000 company, and something was missing. And so starting in 2020, and also, obviously, January, February, March, I have 10 speaking engagements get canceled because of COVID, right?
hmm
And so I just went on a very different journey in 2020. I tried hypnosis. I tried a lot of different therapy because I'm like, I'm just frustrated. I got a beautiful family. I've got lots of money. Like, why am I not fulfilled? And it's very frustrating. And, it reminds me of Tony Robbins has a quote says, success without fulfillment's the ultimate failure. Because you think that success, oh, that's going to fulfill me. That's what I'm lacking. But you get there and you're like, wait a minute. And Zig Ziglar said, money won't buy happiness, but everyone wants to find out on their own. And so the longest one that I did was meditation, actually. So I had a buddy that is a student of Dr. Joe Dispenza. So he introduced me to him. And so I spent 2 years doing 1 to 3 hours a day of meditation, very intense
Wow.
breathing. Like I tamed my body. I mean, I could sit for 4 hours. So I had a fly on my face. I could, for hours, it wouldn't, nothing. And so, all of that stuff, because I feel like a lot of Christians like to bash all of that stuff, right? Like therapy, hypnosis, meditation, all of that stuff helped. I won't say it did. It helped. It helped me get
hmm
over certain anger issues. It helped me get over just certain things that would trigger me and things like that. But it wasn't the answer. None of that stuff was the answer. And so 2022, I think it was September, my wife goes and speaks at an event in Nashville, and she comes back and she goes, "Hey, I met a guy you should talk to." And I'm like, "Okay." And so I don't know him, he doesn't know me. We get on Zoom. He lives in Miami, I live in Naples, Florida. And we get on this Zoom, and the first words out of his mouth are, "I see a big vision for you and God." I'm like, "Hmm, okay." I mean, I didn't grow up in the church. I didn't know one
Yeah.
verse. Like I just figured he's raising money or something,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I'm cynical, skeptical, And we talk for an hour and none of it makes sense, but it feels true and it feels weird. And and so I don't know what to do. And I'm wondering, like, why did you have me talk to him? Like, that's very strange because we were very new age. I mean, I had crystals everywhere. We watched, new age stuff all the time. We were meditating too, both of us. And so it was strange. And so what's interesting is the next day we go to a networking function in Naples and I walk up the stairs and I see this guy. I'd met him quite a few times, and I didn't remember his name. I didn't know what he did or anything. But I see him, and he looks up at me and he goes, "I see a big vision for you and God." And I'm like, "Well, that's weird." Like verbatim what the other guy said, and they don't
Mm-hmm.
know each other, different
Mm-hmm.
cities here. And he goes, "We need to pray." And so this guy, he's 6'4", former corrections officer, Marine Corps, big old dude. He puts his hands on me, like right here, and like gets me in this prayer clutch, and he's just bellowing. I mean, he's just like going for it, like a full blown sermon, like fire and brimstone sermon. And what was wild is we're in the middle of a networking function where everyone is seated, we're standing, and we're in the middle. Okay. And so I don't know all the things he said, but I remember, he said, "You're going to face a fork in the road and you got to choose God." I mean, he's like bellowing this, right? So, and I don't know what's going on. I start weeping, I start shaking. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a full-blown experience,
Yeah.
and it feels like it goes on for like 20 minutes. And I'm like, man, this is embarrassing. Like I know all these people and everything. This is crazy. And so we finally, break out of the prayer clutch. I look around, no one saw anything. Now that doesn't make any sense. Like they
No.
were seated, we were in the middle. It would be impossible to not see a 6'4" guy yelling at the top of his lungs to some other guy, right? No one said cut him off. No one said, "Oh, you guys okay?" No one saw anything. There were waiters and waitresses passing us. No one saw a thing. No one said a word. It was like we were supernaturally shielded, like no one saw anything. And so now I'm really convicted. I'm like, man, what is going on? And so I leave the event, and the next week is our annual event. I got people coming from all over the world, Singapore, Malaysia, Australia, Canada, all over. And I'm like, well, in 20 years of being an entrepreneur, I've never said the word God from stage. Like I can't just switch, I can't just, all of a sudden now I'm talking about God like this. That'd be weird. And so I wrestle with it. I decide that I put a pin in it and I do my event. And then I think it was maybe a week or so later. It was actually, I believe it was November 14th of 2022, where I had the original guy from Miami. He brought a guy from church. They came to our house, and both my wife and I accept Christ.
Wow.
And so we do that. And the next morning is when it really got weird. So, I'd done 2 years without missing a day, 1 to 3 hours a day of meditation. So I wake up the next morning, I swing my feet over. As soon as my feet hit the ground, something's different. Like I'm not the same person. Like I look at my hands, I look, and I've heard one other person describe this, and I felt like, oh, finally, someone else. And so I look outside, and it's like everything was in 4K and everything was brighter and the like everything was I don't know like my eyes or something with my eyes and so I'm just like looking around. I'm like, man, what the heck, this is crazy. Like, am I tripping or something, right? And I get this overwhelming nudge to pray, but I don't know how to pray. I don't know anything. And
Right.
so I just get on my knees and I'm just like, Father, tell me what to do. Or actually, back then I didn't say it like that. I said, God, tell me what to do. I'll be obedient. And I get go live. I'm like, oh man, how do I go live, man? No, no, I don't want to go live. What else you got? And so I wrestle with it for too long. And eventually I go live, and it's called My Apology to God. And that video gets 50,000 views the first day. The wild part was over 200 people messaged me, and it was like they were in cahoots because it literally was like the same, almost verbatim message. I've been woken up at the middle of the night to pray for you. And some of them told me for years. But no one had ever told me that prior to that day.
Mm.
And so it was just like so wild. And since then, for me, Christ was an exchange, not an addition, and it just changed everything. And so we've had wild adventures. My first 3 months in a very weird circumstance, I was asked to do a sermon, and 20 people came to Christ. I brought my mom to Christ, my dad to Christ, my ex-wife to Christ, my 25-year-old son to Christ. We were in Israel on October 7th when the war broke out. Um, I've done full altar calls at inappropriate business meetings when God nudged me to. And so it's just been a wild ride. My wife and I are closer than we've ever been before. My kids and I are closer than I've ever been before. Business was very rocky these last 2 years because I just didn't know if I was being called to ministry or to stay in the marketplace. Because if he told me to leave the marketplace, tomorrow, I'm gone. Right? I love scripture. I love evangelizing. I love bringing people to Christ. Like I love it. He wants me in the marketplace, but I wrestled with that for too long. And so he just continues to lead me and guide me, and it's just been an amazing process.
Oh, so good. Well, it makes sense if you think about, like, from my perspective, looking in to say in the marketplace, because that's where he converted you, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Was in the business meeting. So,
yeah.
because those people aren't necessarily going to church because there's so
Right.
much
I
church
wasn't. Yeah,
hurt, right? There's like father hurt, church hurt. I
yeah,
heard you talk about that.
yeah,
But they're going to networking meetings
yeah.
and
You're
they're putting
right.
their hands on one another and preaching that way. So I think this may be your anointing there within the
Yeah,
marketplace. One of the things I heard you say is he wants to be involved in your business.
yeah.
So tell me a bit about what do you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, he is, God's a perfect father, and so think about it, from our and this they talk about this in Matthew 7:11, but think about yourself as a mom or dad. If your kid came to you and was like, "Hey, I got a job," or I started a business, you wouldn't say, "Whatever, beat it, just show up for Sunday dinner," like no, you'd say, "Oh, what is it?" Like you would be interested in it. Of course he wants to be involved in your business. Of course. And so it's I think a lot of Christians, they punch the clock on Sunday if they do that. But they think that money is more on the Satan side and business is more on the evil side. And, I'll do this, but, sorry, Lord, I got to do the work. No, no, he created work. He created business. He created money. He created marketing. He created sales. Like he created all this stuff. Like, what are you talking about? And so it's not that these things are bad. It's that he wants to be involved with you. Like bring him with you. So I love it's I believe it's Exodus 33, I believe, where God is frustrated with the Israelites and he says to Moses, he says, "You know what? You guys just go into the promised land. I'll send my angels. We'll wipe out the armies, but I ain't going with you." And Moses says, if your presence won't go with us, please don't send us away. And so I don't want to go on a podcast. I don't want to go on a stage. I don't want to go in a business meeting without him with me.
Right.
And so I pray on everything. I prayed on this podcast. Lord, do you want me to do this podcast? And I get a lot more no's than yeses. And I got a yes. So, way to go. God loves your podcast apparently. And so I really take a different level um, meaning and belief to Matthew 6:33, which is seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added unto you. I believe that you're to seek the kingdom in every decision that you make and everywhere that you go. And so he wants us dependent, not independent. He wants to be involved. And there's Psalm 35:27. He delights in the prosperity of his servant. There's Deuteronomy 8:17 and 18. It says, "You'll think it's by your hand that you got wealthy, but remember the Lord your God who gave you the power to get wealth." And so it's not that money is bad. It's seeing money as your source that's bad. That's the problem. If you see money as your source of significance, status, identity, safety, security, that's a problem because that's all the things God wants to be for you. And so, but if you see money as a resource, fine. It's okay to have money, just don't let money have you. And I talk a lot about that in the latest book too.
Yeah. Yeah, can you, for those that are watching, can you hold up your book?
Sure, yeah. So it's faith-driven wealth, and I'm very honored. John Maxwell wrote the foreword, and it was so kind of him. And he's just a busy guy, But John Maxwell wrote the foreword, and it's perfect really for two types of people. One, the person who loves God but struggles with finances, this will help. Or if you're the type of person who you've been successful, but you always have this worry you're going to lose it, it'll help with that too. And so it's a quick read. It's about 100 pages, and yeah, people are loving it. We released it just a couple weeks ago.
Love that. Talked about signs. Yesterday, I had it that I met this Jewish rabbi, and I haven't met very many people within this work that I can speak to, like I'm talking to you. Like, and when I talk about the work, I talk about manifestation, I talk about the universal laws, because I know who created all of that, but I just to reconcile that, I can't talk to some of my Christian friends because they kind of
Right.
throw it out, and then sometimes it's too new age. So I'm somewhere in between, but not like.
Yeah.
Anyways, I met this Jewish rabbi. It was just incredible. It was amazing. And he's such an amazing guy. And he stayed up all night because this other Japanese woman had to catch her plane and he waited with her. I'm like, of course you did.
Mm,
So he was in the lobby when I came down early morning to catch my cab, put me in the cab. And I felt so much gratitude to God for bringing him into my life.
mm,
And then as I'm in the cab, my cab driver, I hear that on the radio, it's instrumental, How Great Thou Art. It's the
nice.
hymn, right? And I'm like, what? Like I'm in California. I don't know. And so I said, I like your music. And he's like, yeah, it's very peaceful. And I said, it's Christian. And I found out he's Egyptian. And I just, again, feeling these signs from God where it's like, Deb, keep going. You're on the right path. I'm going to send people
Nice.
to you. My word, it's interesting you use the word obedient. My power word is obedient.
Mm,
When I am obedient to his will, then I have to watch for the people like you, Ray, that came into my life that are doing this work.
yeah.
So, one other thing that I heard you say, and I just want to tie into this idea of finances, that you'd said it's selfish to just want enough for your family. That's so provocative. Can you dig
Yeah.
into that a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, we're called to be, Matthew 5:14, 16. We're called to be the light of the world, the city on the hill that can't be hidden. But you can be very easily hidden if you struggle financially, if you struggle with poverty. And Ecclesiastes 9:16 says, "The poor man's wisdom is despised, his words are not heard." Ouch. Right. And so a mentor of mine who was Christian, he passed away a few years ago, but Mark Hoverson, he said, your poverty isn't serving anyone. It's not helping your town. It's not helping your family. It's not helping anyone else. And I love the idea of Luke 16:9. Luke 16:9 says, use worldly wealth to gain friends for yourselves, so that when it is gone, you'll be welcomed into eternal dwellings. That's really cool. That means, okay, you're saying to use money, not people, but to use money as a resource, not the source, but to use it as a resource to gain influence, to gain traction, to be that light and inspire other people to turn toward God. And you're going to see them at the pearly gates. You're going to see them in heaven. They're going to be like, "Hey, there she is. She's the one that got me to come here," right? And so I just think that's really cool. And so, there someone I met who I talk about in the book is a guy named David Green. And David Green, as a kid, he dreamed of being a dime store manager. That would have made him the most successful guy in his family. But instead, he's the founder of Hobby Lobby, and which has 1,055 stores, I think 44,000 employees. They do over $8 billion a year, and he donates every year uh, half of the profits of that company. And so he has funded over 1 billion children to hear the gospel.
Wow.
And so like that's a guy that really lives these verses. And I just think, if we're just, hey Lord, just please pay my bills, please just help me out. One, how are you selling God so short? Like how are you saying, God, I don't want to bug you too much, like give me just a little bit. And so like why are we short selling him? Why are we thinking he's so powerless to only be able to supply our bills. And why aren't we asking for more? Because we want to, like it talks about in 2 Corinthians 9, we want to be cheerful givers. We want to be abundant in every way. We want to be, to be able to spread, plenty. We want to be able to do that. So you should actually want that should be a desire of yours that you are that there are causes and missions and things that you want to fund. Like that should actually be on your heart. You should want to do those things, and God can help you do that.
Mhm. Ray, I've been a Christian for many, many years. I grew up in a Christian home. My dad's a pastor. My opa, as in Dutch, is a was a reverend. But
Mm,
I don't have scripture memorized like you.
mm,
And I really admire that. And the first time I met you and heard you speak and how you have it committed to memory. And I want to go back on this podcast and just write those texts down and make that a goal to do some more memorization because it's so powerful when you can have those words just on the tip of your tongue that you and it will keep you and I know there's a text you actually quoted around that as well, like Ephesians 4, verse 29. You said, do not let
yeah,
any unwholesome talk come out of your mouth. And we know also with neuroscience around the power of having those positive affirmations and thoughts, but how much better even having scripture be your affirmation.
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
that's Proverbs 18:21. Death and life's in the power of the tongue.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, not that I'm against this. I'm most certainly not. Um, I I think my first week with Christ, I got these flashcards, and I'm like, I'm gonna start. And so I started doing like the normal, like if you want to memorize something, like started doing that, and I stopped. And so it really, I don't do any memorization things. It's just I think that when you're walking in a certain way, the Holy Spirit just equips you, and
Yeah.
so anything there's a Bible hack. I talk about it in I think chapter 10. But Philippians 4:6 it says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything in prayer and petition with thanksgiving present your requests to God." And which is very similar to Mark 11:24, when ye pray, pray as if you've already received. So when I locate a trait that I want, I just thank the Father for it. And
Yeah.
so I remember listening to Isaiah 11:3 and 4 said, he will delight in being obedient to the Lord. And so I got into prayer. I'm like, Lord, do I delight in being obedient to you? No. I'm like, hmm. I'm like, okay. And he revealed to me that I was obedient, but it's because in my heart, I thought that it would help me get the things I wanted. And so as soon as he gave me that understanding, he was, of course, right. And I said, all right, Lord, all right, Father, thank you for putting your will above my desire. And I felt a physical change. It was a Sunday morning. I was at the gym. I felt a physical change, and ever since then, just things have been different. So if there's any, I'm always hunting for traits. Like a good one is Psalm 119. It's very long. I think it's the longest psalm, but there's all kinds of meat in there of get with the Lord and say, Lord, do I have this? Okay, thank you for giving me this. Lord, do I have it? Thank you for giving me this. And so I tend to pray and thank more for traits than I do for, I don't really pray for results anymore unless he tells me, hey, I want you to have this result. Then I'll just pray for his will to be done. But I'm mainly praying for traits, like thank you for this trait. Thank you for growing me. Thank you for being with me. I'm not usually like, I sure hope this thing goes well. I'm just like, thank you for your favor. However it goes
Yeah.
is however you want it.
I'm curious, how do you hear his voice?
So I mean, I just did a 2 hour podcast on this. So Tozer said that everyone who says they don't hear from God will discredit every time he talks to him. And so one of the ways that God can talk to you is through your own inner voice, but it'll be words and thoughts you wouldn't have or say. So about a year and a half ago, maybe a little bit longer now, but about a year and a half ago, I was going through some stuff. We had multi-million-dollar investment thing that just went down the drain. We had just a massive amount of surprises financially. My oldest son wasn't talking to me. Like it was just like, oh man, I just felt like a punching bag. Like I was just getting beat up. And here I am. I'm the obedient guy, and I do whatever you tell me, Lord. And why am I getting all beat up, man? Like I'm doing this stuff. And so I got into prayer. I'm like, Lord, man, like what's going on, man?
Enough jobing, right?
Yeah, man, no Jobin. And so I got into prayer and I heard I had to keep breaking you so you would keep searching and find the need to love yourself.
Hmm.
Now that was in my own voice, my own inner voice. I wouldn't have that thought. I
Hmm.
wouldn't use those words. Like I don't know what they mean. Like I'm like, what? You know? And so a lot of times I think people discredit how God talks to you through your own inner voice or thoughts or even memories. And, just be more diligent on that. Lord, was that you? Because sometimes it is you, right? Sometimes it is you, thinking to yourself. But a lot of times it's words and thoughts that you just wouldn't use. Where did these come from? And so paying attention to that. And I think, staying in step with the Spirit and listening, for that. So it just hearing from him has been my number one desire for the last 2 years, every single day. And at this point, I now pray on everything. I pray on what to eat, what to work out. I pray on where to go. When clients come to me, what to charge them? Should I even work with them? Should I do this podcast, that podcast? And so I pray on everything now, and he guides me. And this is biblical. James 1:5 says, "When ye lack wisdom, ask and be given to you liberally and without reproach." That means I can ask as often as I want, and I will not be rebuked. I won't be in trouble. I won't be annoying. He wants to guide us, and so that's just what I do. And I do have a process that I've taken a lot of people through to better hear from him. But it's much more about surrender. And so if there's, one of the most important things around hearing from him is a concept called idols in your heart. Because what I found is there were three areas in my life that I would consistently get wrong answers. Like I would pray and I would get an answer. I'm like, that just doesn't, and it turns out that wasn't the right answer. And I'm like, what the heck? And so Ezekiel 14:2-5 says, if they come to me with idols in their heart, I'll answer them according to the idols in their heart. So if you're emotionally charged about something and you really are, if something has a position higher than God and you're praying about that thing, pretty likely you'll get a wrong answer. Pretty likely that your emotions will mix in there and mess it up. And so for me, that was money, food, because I grew up in a very abusive home. I was starved all the time. So, for most of my life, I was overweight. And when I gave the Lord permission to make me excellent, I lost 35 pounds. And so for me, it was money, food, and my wife. I started dating my wife after I lost everything. And so I had don't let wife down as the number one priority in my life. And although that's a worthwhile thought, that can't be number one. It has to be trust God, right? It has to be
Right,
love and
right.
trust God as number one, and everything else, below that. And he grew me. He was so gentle with it. He grew me through that. He helped me understand that that's where my heart was, and so yeah, it was a long answer.
No, it was great. It was great. And you used a term as well called lifestyle evangelism. So
Hmm.
it sounds like some of that description you just gave is that. Is there anything more to lifestyle evangelism?
I mean, I think, you quoted Ephesians 4:29, right? Do not let unwholesome talk come out of your mouth, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs. And so, Jesus said that they'll know us by our fruit, right? And that doesn't necessarily mean just our kids, right? I think it means by how do how do we love at times where it doesn't make sense?
Mm,
How do we? And I remember, you know. I had such a, God blessed me with a really wonderful experience. So I'm going to make this short, but I spoke at an event and I'd invited a bunch of people to this event. It was for to help raise money for kids in foster care. And one of the guys I'd invited, who I was really looking forward to talking to, left early. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird, you know. I mean, it's a foster care event, you know. And so, some of the people from the event, we go out later, we go to this like dive bar, and the guy's there. And so I just walked up to him. I didn't say anything, but I walked up to him and he said, "Hey," he goes, "Ray, man, you were a great speaker. You were amazing, but man, that event was so boring. It was just stupid and this and that. And that doctor's an idiot." And just blasted the whole program, blasted the whole thing. And like I know the stories behind how how my friend has helped because I helped her start the fundraiser. Like I know the stories, like what she's been through and how difficult she's had it. And here's this guy just, and so in that moment, I don't know how to not let unwholesome talk come out of my mouth. And so I'm like praying about it. And I'm just like, I'm sorry that was your experience. That's all, that's the best I could do.
Hmm.
And so, he walks away, I walk away. And then the next morning, I'm in prayer and I keep getting his name over and over and over, his name, his name, his name. And I'm like, okay, what's up? I want you to reach out to him and I want you to speak to him the way I see him. Well, how do you see him? Gentle, wise, and kind. I'm like, okay, all right. So I track down his number. I got to reach out to a few people because I've only met him a couple times. And so I get his number and I send him a message. It's an audio message. And I say, hey, man, again, sorry you didn't enjoy the event. Um, Honestly, as a new Christian, I didn't really know how to respond to you. But then I've prayed about you and I realized that that actually wasn't you. The way God sees you is that you're gentle, wise, and kind. And that's the kind of person I'd love to get to know. So I sent him this message and he tries to call me. I was in a meeting and then he leaves me an audio message. And I actually kept it because I just thought it was so special.
Yeah.
He's choking up. He's like, how how did you do that? Like I was so rude and you're just so kind. Like how'd you do that? I want to take you out to lunch or something. I need to spend time with you. The truth is I was bullied as a kid and that event triggered me and I just got into an argument before I saw you at the bar and I'm so sorry. Like I was so rude and I just can't believe what you just sent me. It's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me.
Wow.
And he's choked up, he's crying. and
Mm,
and so God allowed me to experience that because that is, they talk about it more in the Old Testament than New, but that's like heaping hot coals on their head and that changes
right.
their mind, right?
Yeah.
And so when you don't respond worldly, you display your light. Now, if I reacted worldly, then we probably would have fought or something, the Lord's now let me experience that sort of thing, multiple times. But it's who are you, um, who are you loving on that shouldn't be, that isn't loving on you? It's not this tit for tat kind of thing. And you got to watch this in politics because a lot of Christians they get very political and it turns into a hate thing of let's hate the other side. Well, by the way, the other side is also children of God.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so like I don't have a license to hate them. I may disagree with them. I may not like some of the policies or whatever, but to hate them, that's fallen into the devil's trap. And
Yeah.
so we're to love one another as we love ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. One little point I want to say is that you heard from God and then you went and got his number and you had to go get it. It's
Yeah.
not like God just goes, "Oh, and there you go. There's the number," and pick up the phone, or
Right.
the guy knocks on your door and says, "Do you have a message for me?"
Yeah,
No, like it
yeah,
does,
yeah,
there's still hoops, things that we have to go through.
yeah.
And I love that you took that challenge on and can see the reward, and just spread your light. So, Ray, is there anything in addition to this conversation? And I just have appreciated you sharing so openly and all the experiences you've had that would benefit the listener. And also, again, remind us where we can get in touch with you and your book.
Sure, yeah. So, yeah, the book, the direct link is higdengroup.com/FDW for faith driven wealth. And again, it's for, anyone that loves God but struggles with finances, or if maybe you don't struggle with finances, but you have a deep worry about them, or that you'll lose them, or something like that. And then, yeah, I would just say, um, I really believe that when it says "Seek ye first the kingdom of God," it is to in everything that you do, right? In everything that you do, like, Lord, uh, should I be doing this? And one of the distinctions is that everything starts in God's heart. And if you can think about that, and you can catch on to that, then you have the chance to catch, what is he doing with you? Who does he want to be for you? If you just, what the enemy wants you to focus on is the situation. So I'll give you an example that happened today. So for the last many years, I have been building a YouTube channel. I don't know if you heard this story or not, but I've
No.
been building a YouTube channel, and I mean, there was a period of about a year, maybe even over a year, where I was spending $7,000 a month to create these super professional videos in a professional studio and have them edited and everything. And so I've probably invested $150,000 in that channel, right? And this morning I wake up, and I go to check the stats. It gone. It's toast.
What?
And so
Oh no.
I look at it, and it's like, you've been removed. And I'm like, huh. And so I check just to verify. I'm like, maybe it's something with my computer. No, no, it gone. And so I've actually had that happen to me before. And that this was probably 10 years ago, if I think about it. And I mean, I had worked so hard on that thing. I was so upset. I was so angry and all this stuff, and how unjustful. I went on this rant on Facebook and bashed YouTube and all this stuff. And this time around it was different. And so this time around I'm like, all right, well, I haven't read my Bible yet because that's part of my morning routine. So let me go do that. And so I go, I don't message anyone or anything. I just go, I read the Bible, and I come back in and I pray about it. And I'm like, Lord, um, I know your nature is to grow me. Do you want me to appeal this? No. Okay. Do you want me to start a new channel? Yes. Okay. That was it.
Wow.
And so you always know that whatever was meant for evil, God will use for good, right? And so everything starts with Him. And so it doesn't start in the situation, or with me, it starts with Him. So this was His nudge to start a new channel. And also, I also got the nudge about maybe a week or so ago that He's wanting me to create an in-person studio, podcast studio, and this is the nudge. And I'm like, okay, got it. And so I don't have to worry about all that time I spent, all that money, and all that because he John 3:27 says that He's responsible for all results, right? We cannot receive a result unless it's from the Father. And so I 100% believe that this is extremely exciting, because I believe He's going to really bless this new channel. My old channel had a big mix of pre-Christ Ray, post-Christ Ray,
Yeah.
confused Ray.
Mm,
You know what I mean? This will
mm.
not have any of that. It's going to
Yeah,
be
yeah,
extremely, congruent. And
yeah.
and so if that's how He wants to do it, that's how He wants to do it. That's great.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. This is where it gets real. You know,
Yeah,
but I like that you said nudge. I often say that when I hang on to something really tight, it's like God has to take a 2x4
that's right.
and knock me on the head because I am so stubborn
Mm,
and I'm righteous in my
mm,
decision, like self-righteous, like this is
yeah,
right. I'm right. And
yeah,
my rightness, my righteousness gets in the way of his purpose for me. And
yes,
I have to sometimes be knocked to my knees and humbled till I can see that, oh, what he's trying to do is create space
That's
because
right.
I got my hands full of this other stuff. And until I lay that down so I can
That's
pick
right.
up what he wants me to do, I need to empty first. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah,
And that's what he said to Moses. He said, "What's in your hand? Throw it down." Right? Like that. He said that to Moses. So sometimes you're right. Well, Lord. So yeah, beautiful.
yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. And thank you for
Yeah,
being here with me. I know this episode is going to bless so many people.
cool.
And we'll put your book link in the notes as well. And thanks again for being here. And
Yeah.
yeah, I just can't wait to see and witness what God's got in store for you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Today, we've delved into the realm of manifesting giants, exploring the power of declaring our desires to the universe with unapologetic boldness. But before we bid adieu, I have a little something special to share with all of you dreamers out there. Introducing the Dare to Declare Vision Board magazine and online DIY Vision Board course, your ticket to manifesting greatness in style. Picture this. Flipping through pages filled with inspiring images, empowering quotes, and step-by-step guides to help you create the vision board of your dreams. Whether you're yearning for that spacious condo with a view or a love that sets your soul on fire, our magazine is here to guide you every step of the way. Dive deep into the art of manifesting with our exclusive online DIY vision board course. Led by manifesting expert, yes, yours truly, and seasoned dreamers. This course will teach you the ins and outs of creating a vision board that speaks to your heart and soul. So what are you waiting for? Join the ranks of the manifesting giants and dare to declare your wildest dreams to the universe. Head over to our website, debbiesluice.com, and grab your copy of the Dare to Declare Vision Board magazine and enroll in our online DIY Vision Board course today. Until next time, keep dreaming big and daring to declare, because in the world of manifesting, the sky's the limit.